page 9. I want you to look in the box at the bottom of page 9, and I want you to think about what would go in that blank. Don't write it down yet, because I'll tell you the answer, but I want you to think about what should go in that blank. Students blank directions and limits. When I first saw that, I thought students hate directions and limits. Students push and test our limits. But what really goes in the blank? Students want and need, and I heard even the word love, protection, or the direction and limits. Students want and need direction and limits. They want direction and limits so badly that what do when you give them boundaries? They test them. They push to find out. A lot of these kids will say, you know what, well, Miss Vernon told me if I do it one more time, she's going to do something. But when Mom says one more time, she really means 5 more times. And when Granny says one more time, she really means give me 45 minutes. If I get irritated enough with you, I will give up and you will win. So whenever you tell a student you're going to do something, they need to figure out, well, does this person really mean what she says or not? Because they've got to know where their limits are, and that is human nature. So with that in mind, let's turn to page 11, and I will start today with the 2 most important strategies for working with your difficult students. Number 1 is you must like them. Now, are some of your kids more lovable than others? It's okay to admit it. That's just the way that it is. But if you don't like a child in your classroom, that student knows it, and so does everyone else in the room. The second solution on that page is to connect or build a relationship. And I will explain the 3x20 intervention in just a minute. But make a connection with that tough kid. I'm sure you all have heard the quote, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And Marilyn Appelbaum always says, the more you connect, the less you correct. How many of you know certain kids that will behave for one person, but not for anybody else? And it's because they've got a connection with that one person, and sometimes we don't even know where that connection came from, but it's huge. I will never forget my first day of subbing in Houston. I was subbing at one of the middle schools in our area, 8th grade class, and I saw Jessica coming down the hallway. Now, Jessica is one of these kids that is so tough, her right leg never bends. Do you all have any of these kids in your buildings? She's so tough, the right leg never bends. She comes down the hallway like this. Just strutting into that classroom. And when she looks at me, as she passes me to come into the room, she goes, walks towards her desk. And I thought, okay, I've got to catch her. I've got to do something or I'm going to have a really rough class period with her. And I noticed on her hand, she had a sticker of the music group NSYNC. You all remember NSYNC? And around the sticker, she had written the words, I love Justin Timberlake. And to be quite honest with you, so do I. So I asked her if she had seen them in concert. And she just rolled her eyes, no, my mom wouldn't let me. And I said, man, it was so good. And they sang some songs off that Celebrity CD, and it's not even out yet. She goes, how do you know? I was in the 15th row, that's how I know. She went, no way. And all of a sudden she forgot that she hated my guts. And we stood there in the classroom and talked for a few minutes about the NSYNC concert. I told her, you might want to go ahead and have a seat. The bell's about to ring and I don't want you to be tardy. She sat down and I never had a problem with this kid. And this was the class where after the bell rang, other teachers were coming down. Did you keep her through the whole class period? Just totally stunned because they knew she was out to get me that day. As she strut out of the classroom to her next class, she snuck me my own little NSYNC sticker, and we were buddies. And for the rest of the year, any day that I subbed in that building, Jessica was running up to me to give me a hug and talk to me. It was one really minor conversation. And I can assure you it's not always that easy, but find that connection, whatever it is. I sometimes have tried to compliment kids, and they are so tough they won't accept my compliment. I've had a student drawing in the classroom, and I'm thinking, okay, look for positives, look for positive. That's a great drawing. And he went, this sucks. Okay, this compliment's really going nowhere. An idea another teacher gave me was to say, I noticed. I noticed you drew a picture of a horse. You can't argue with that, can you? I noticed you got a haircut. There's no opinion there, and the student cannot argue with me on that. And that's something that you can do just to start breaking down those walls with the really tough kids that will not even soften up for a compliment. Tell them, I